Welcome to the Dynasty Evaluation Show. We got a great guest today, Tipp Major, with the co-host of the Mo-host, JT Orange. We're going to talk about two guys who absolutely love Shedeur Sanders, so this should be a good show. Hopefully we'll keep under an hour, so these guys can stop blowing Valentine's and kisses at Shedeur the whole time. But
you need to stop. Come on.
Here we go. Let's get this show started.
McGlynn is in. I repeat, McGlynn is in. Let the fun begin. This is the Commissioner Evaluation Podcast with your host, John McGlynn.
Was that Herms?
He got them guests on the Rolodex, stopping by to talk about some Dynasty Superflex. Everybody, yo, commish is in. It's time to sit down to listen to John McGlynn. Yo, who we trading, who we fading, who we getting off the squad. Knowledge never overrated, playing for number one. And yo, McGlynn is in. It's time to let the fun begin. It's the Commissioner Evaluation Podcast with John McGlynn.
So JT is stuck on our show all the time, whether he likes it or not. So JT, welcome to the series again. We're spearheading all these rookies right now, so this should be a good setup here. But tell everybody where I can find you at, what's going on, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, find me at JT Orange on the X. If you're into these rookie spotlights that we've been doing with guests, I've got a bunch of them I written up on DLF. So if you're a member over there, go over and check those out. I do have one on Shedeur Sanders, who we're talking about today. So you can always check that out as well. I'll throw my 2 cents from that article here as well. And then if you're into hockey, find me on Tuesday nights on Fantasy and Frames on the Around the Ice show. So that's our hockey show. And give you a little something to watch and do with football. Slowing down here a little bit, even though we're not slowing down with all the fantasy. All the
there is no slow down.
Dynasty,
days off
now. It's
days off.
That's right,
bro.
We got the rookie stuff flying here on Fantasy and Frame. So yeah, I'm all in on all the rookie stuff. So I'm pumped. Like I say, every show, this is my favorite time of year outside of actual playing football. I love the lead up to the rookie draft. I just everything about it, the evaluations, talk about the players, seeing where they might go, see where they actually go. The draft is my favorite thing. So I love this time of year.
Yeah, absolutely. HoobTube, Ayo, thanks for joining in, Hoob. I drove with Hoob in and out of Detroit for the draft last year. I went to probably 7 of the last 9 drafts. So I'm hoping to go to Green Bay again this year. JT, are we going to Indianapolis for this combine or what?
I'll be there for sure. So you just got to let me know if you're coming in what days. So I'm definitely heading over there. I'm going to be writing a few articles for DLF on that as well. I was there last year. It was awesome. Got to see Xavier Worthy break the record in person. Also got to see Joe Milton throwing a football 80 yards right at me. I was sitting right in the corner of the end zone when he threw it out there. I told my son, he was sitting with me. I said, look at this. Watch this guy. And he was like, did he just throw it all the way the whole field? I was like, yeah, he basically just threw it the whole field. My son was losing his mind. I was like, yeah, that's awesome. So yeah. I immediately texted John. I was like, did you see Milton throw that ball? Because he loves Joe Milton. So that was another good part of the combine. But I love the combine Indy. They do it right. They've got a whole cool section for kids and everything. It's a ton of fun. So I usually take the whole family in, get work done, and hang out with the fam at the same time.
Did I see Joe Milton throw that ball? I was looking at the screen when he's throwing. Are you kidding me? I love that dude. I got him in every one of my dynasty leagues. It's my boy. So absolutely. So we got a new face at the table tonight. Tipp Major. Thanks for joining, man. I had a couple conversations with you before on the internet, but It's nice to see you in person. I'll actually on the screen. Next stop, we'll be shaking hands actually in person somewhere at the expo or something else like that. But where can everybody find you at? What's going on? Tell us everybody about all you do in the dynasty and fantasy football community.
Yeah, so you can find me with Football Guys. I just started working with them. I've done 4 articles plus a article where we had several writers just put one together and talking about different strategies for next year for each position. So doing a lot of things with Football Guys. Also working with the sports affiliation. I just wrote an article for them. JC and Iggy, shout out to those guys. Really great guys. Did an article for them talking about the Raiders. But yeah, man, look, I'm still doing Spaces, still on Spaces quite a bit, doing podcasts like this throughout the week. I just got off of the Super Bowl marathon podcast with Jim Coventry. Please go check that out. They had some of the greatest, like I call them, they call them experts, but I call them MCs, because I'm a hip hop head. So they had some of the greatest ones on there, man. They had Bob Harris, Scott the King Angle, Marcus Grant, Greg Kellogg was in there. So, I mean, you got some heavy hitters that was on there. And I had the pleasure of being on there too. And then before that Friday, I was on Sirius XM with Bob Harris and Mike Dempsey, man. We had a blast, man. We had a good hour of just really good football talk, Super Bowl predictions, talking about some of the games, that happened during the playoffs. But, man, it's just a really fun ride. I'm enjoying every moment of it. And I can't wait to talk some ball with you guys, man, because you were telling me over here you weren't a Pete Carroll fan. And, we might have to come to some words by the end of this evening.
So, all right. I had no problem going to blows about Pete Carroll's whatever.
I knew the second we were going to bring up Shedeur Sanders, I was like, Pete Carroll's going to come up and John's going to lose it. I was like, this is going to be great.
Oh, boy. Okay, let's get it going. Like,
Chris Joel Smith, the usual check-in. Woo! Thanks for coming in. Home league homie, Chris Joel Smith. Jeremy Perug, what's up, fellas? Thanks for joining in. You said Jim Coventry, another guy. He lives right by me, and then he found out that I found out where he lives, and he moved away. Now he lives about 25 away from me. So awesome guy, smart guy.
Oh yeah, I love Jim, man. He's awesome.
Like a whole manifesto about like everything he writes about. That guy just loves writing. I don't know what he did before in a past life as some kind of like Mark Twain author or something, but man, loves writing. So there we go. Shedeur's draft stock is going to skyrocket at the combine. Well, we'll talk about it today. We're going to find out. We're going to lead up to all this stuff. So we got a couple questions for you today, Tip. We sent you a little we narrowed this down a lot, believe it or not. There's only a couple questions on here, but we had like 10 questions before, and it went like an hour and a half. We're like, yeah, maybe we'll just we'll kind of what do you call it? Condense this a little bit.
It just a bit, yeah.
Okay,
we had like 10 or 12 questions on there. These shows they were being like a million years long. We're like, we might probably try to keep it to like 45 minutes to an hour as opposed to the hour and a half show on one player.
Yeah. So tell me all about the size, the shape, the speed, all the stuff that you know about Shedeur so far. And then do me a favor and give me all the positives that you know about, like you saw like on tape, on as far as like film's concerned, anything else as far as that kind of stuff. Give me all the good stuff that everybody wants to hear about Shedeur right from the get-go.
Good size, 6'2", 215 pounds. As good. The strength is in his legs. He does have, pretty big size legs for a quarterback. Usually quarterbacks are leaner guys. This guy's put together pretty well. And I think he adds another 10 pounds to his game or to him, as he grows and gets older and gets that man weight. Then I think that would be a really ideal playing weight for him. Look, we'll talk a little bit more about some of his weaknesses or some of the things that he lacks. But right now, man, I think that he is a guy that is a prototypical quarterback. Can do a little bit in the pocket. He has an accurate arm. He can throw the ball deep. We've seen that. I was watching the Baylor game the other night against Baylor, and some of those plays, especially the play at the end, the Hail Mary. Those are just pinpoint accurate throws that he was making to one spot and one spot only. And he did that time after time. 74% completion rate this season, also throwing 4,000 yards. That's pretty impressive. And one thing that I did like about what he's done in here, is a little bit of his career, is he's kind of went through steps or stages. Obviously going through high school, then he goes to Jackson State, goes there for a couple of years, does really well there. Follows his dad, of course, and we get that. But Texas takes a step up to the Big 12 and did really well in there as well. So I think that, having him do something like that is also something that I've kind of pieced together, because that is the next step, obviously, is the NFL. But him taking those little steps in, his adolescent to adulthood years, I think that kind of is a little bit of a plus that I like. Another thing too about Shedeur Sanders is he can throw down the middle. Like if everybody knows how Jalen Hurts is, he throws the sideline to sideline down the middle. He struggles a little bit at times. Not Shedeur Sanders. Shedeur Sanders is not afraid to throw up down the middle, and he will throw it with velocity down the middle. So that's another thing for me that I really like about Shedeur Sanders is he's not afraid to throw the ball. He'll shuffle his feet around. He has really quick feet that he can move around the pocket. shuffle his feet around and deliver those accurate throws, a la Jaden Daniels that we just saw. I think that Shedeur Sanders, not quite JD Daniels' season, but because Jaden Daniels is going to kill him with the speed, but definitely some of the accurate throws is what I like to see, and what I kept seeing, or some of the good things that we talked about. And the last thing, he keeps his interception rate down. I like that he keeps his interceptions down too. This year he had 10 interceptions, 37 passing touchdowns. So okay, kind of clean that up a little bit, because in the NFL, those 10 interceptions can turn to 15, 20 interceptions really quick, because those guys are on a different level. So that's the one thing I would like to see him, kind of tailing that down. But 74% passing completion percentage, along with that 4,000 yards, I think that he's going to be just fine in the NFL. It will take time, but I think he'll be fine.
Yeah, you know what? One thing about him is
just say you believe in Shedeur. And say you believe in Pete Carroll, and then we'll be straight.
Well, I'm never going to say nothing good about Pete Carroll my entire life, so let's just stop right there. But Shedeur, a lot of people mock him about his mobility and stuff, and I'm like, what are you talking about? His mobility? He gets out. He's not one of those quarterbacks who spins in the pocket to get around, but he does roll out. He's not afraid to leave the pocket.
Yeah,
holding the ball is a different story, but he moves pretty well, man. He sees the pocket well. He does a lot of things like that inside the pocket, things that you want to see for a quarterback. And he's very good with the skinny posts and the slants, things like that. A lot of over the center stuff. Yeah, I was kind of impressed. When people start hearing, it's the Sanders kid, he's gonna get the golden spoon treatment, blah blah blah. The kid does pretty well, man. He does pretty damn good. And JT loves him a lot. And JT's a film guy. And I mean, every week, did you see Shedeur Sanders last week? Did you see Sanders, this, that? So. Okay, get ready for the next 25 minutes of JT.
I'm going to try to keep it under control, John.
All over my boy here. Go ahead, JT. Give me some positives, all the good stuff.
Yeah. So, I mean, positive, like you said, I've been on Shedeur 2 years now. He's been my QB1 for this draft class. I said it when he transferred to Colorado that I thought he would be QB1 in 2 years. I was really hoping he would stay 2 full years and not try to come out last year, which I think really helped himself by going back to school this year. Really improving his game. If anything, him and Cam Ward both have that in common, in that they both made a very wise decision to go back to school for one more year, and they both went from probably second, third, fourth round picks to, what we assume is going to be a top 10 pick for both guys. Just really good decision for them. Sure. I mean, here's the thing with Shedeur. He gets a lot of heat in that, his Sanders is his name is only because his dad. That's people who aren't watching him. They haven't watched the games. I mean, if you flipped his name and you named him Cam Ward, people would love him. It's the people that don't like him. They're, he does have some flaws, and we'll talk about those in a bit, but the people that are saying that stuff like, the only reason he's getting drafted, the only reason this is happening is because Deion, that's just a terrible narrative. That one drives me insane. It absolutely drives me insane when I hear it. So I just want to get that out of the way at the beginning. This guy's a pro quarterback. I don't care who his name is. I don't care what his name is. He's a pro quarterback. And honestly, everyone talks about how it's advantaged him that Deion's his dad. I actually think it's the opposite. I think he's taken more heat. He's had more criticism. He's been more in the spotlight. To me, if there's anybody ready to come in as a rookie quarterback and handle the heat, I think it's Shedeur Sanders. If you're going to see a guy go to a big time market like a New York, go to the Giants or the Jets, we've seen it. Some guys just don't do well there. That New York media is hot. They're on you. You got to be able to keep cool and hold it together. He's a guy that I think can do that, where some of these other guys, I don't think they would be very well there. I mean, Zach Wilson was a good one. Like, granted, things weren't great for him there, but I also think if he went somewhere else right away, he would add maybe a little bit different story, because some guys just can't take the heat there. I think he's set up for that. So that's one of the positives for me. I think he's ready to take the heat, and if he doesn't play well right away on a not very good team, I don't think he folds. I think he's got enough muster to stick it out and keep going and working harder and harder. And I think the fact that, people are like, you are getting everything because of your dad, has made him work harder. He seems extremely focused to me. Everything I've covered him, everything I've seen out of him, he just works and works and works to get better. So I think that is a huge positive he has over a lot of quarterbacks. I think he's prepared for the heat. The other big thing for him, before we get into straight strengths and weaknesses, this guy's been a winner at every level. At every level, he's succeeded, whether that was high school, whether that was at Jackson State, whether it was at Colorado. Now, people can say, oh, they had a losing record his first year at Colorado. They took a 1-11 program that was probably considered the worst team in the nation. I mean, legitimately the worst team in the country. And they turned around and went 4-8 and were in, I think it was 5 or 6 one-score games. So, like, people can say, well, they lost. They lost, but they were also in a really tough Pac-12 that year and competed with a brand new team that had none of them had played together. I mean, outside of just a handful of guys at Jackson State, they almost brought all new players. And then to turn around and did what they did this year, one game out of being in the Big 12 championship game. And if they would have made that game and won, they could have made the playoffs. I mean, to me, the fact that they were one game away, despite the fact that they got hammered in the bowl game, they did not play well. Everything that could have went wrong in that BYU game. I just think if you're ripping on him for the fact that they went 9-4 and made a bowl and didn't make the playoffs, I don't know what expectations you're living in. But I mean, you don't hear everybody ripping Cam Ward for Miami not making the playoffs in the ACC. So I think you got to keep those things equal to him. But it just like I said, just a great player. The interceptions, I'm not worried about. He had 10 this year, but you got to look at 3 of those were in the poll game where he was forcing. They got down early. He was trying to make plays that happen. This was the only year in his career that he threw double digits interceptions. His junior year, 27 touchdowns, just 3 picks. For his entire college career, 70% completion percentage, over 14,000 yards passing, 134 touchdowns and 27 interceptions. Give me those stats all day long. I'll take those all day long. And so to me, this guy is the QB1 for me. I do like Cam Ward. Cam Ward started the year as my QB3, moved up my QB2, but I just think this guy is ready to go. There's people I think are going to have to eat some crow once they see him play and once they see the combine and they actually see what he can do. It's like you said, John, people complain about the leg. Oh, he can't run. He's the slowest guy ever. No, he's not. He's just not a runner, and he's taken a lot of sacks. He's played with some pretty terrible offensive lines. And now one of the biggest weaknesses, and we'll get that in a minute, is him taking those sacks. But he's a guy that can move in the pocket, and he can run when he needs to. He is more agile than people give him credit for. He had quite a few. He had double-digit rushing touchdowns in college, and they weren't all on 1-yard sneaks either. So, again, people look at the college production, see all the sacks, and go, oh, well, he had minus 300 yards rushing. Well, that's a college stat. They count sacks as rushing yards. If they didn't, he would have actually had probably 200 or 300 rushing yards if you didn't count the sacks, which, is solid for a guy that's rushing out of the pocket. So I think that's highly underrated. People act like this guy runs a 5.5 40. He doesn't. He runs like a 4.65. Yeah, he's got plenty of ability. He's not your 4.4 sprint all around running quarterback.
He's not Lamar Jackson.
He's not Lamar Jackson. He's not Jalen Milroe. That's not who he is.
Right.
But I think that's the problem is people want to make him be that guy when he's not that guy. To me, my comp for him, I think he reminds me of Jared Goff. I think he's got that type of ability. He throws I think he actually throws a better deep ball than Goff, but I think his accuracy reminds me of Goff. Both very accurate, good ball placement, where you can put it. And we can kind of go more into those comps here and things as we go in those strengths and weaknesses. But I just want to kind of get out my big splurge on him before we get in that. But I want to let Tipp jump into all his strengths, what he likes about him, before I jump in and get onto a million more things.
No, you said, and the whole thing about you saying, it could be a disadvantage for him, or it may have been a disadvantage for him, having to deal with like your father's spotlight and then it put on you. I think he thrives off of that. I think that he wants the spotlight on him. He's not as vocal as his dad is, or showy, but I think he wants that. I think he feeds off of that. I think that is something that's tailor-made for the next level, because he's not going to get, the media is not going to get in his head as much. I mean, they might, but not as bad, because he's going to know how to block all of that stuff. Because look, his dad's been training him to be a leader for this whole time that he's been in, probably in diapers. And I mean, we'll talk a little bit more about it on his personal side, but I mean, he's been bred to be a leader for a long time, guys. And I think that he can translate that to the next level. Yes, he's going to have to get behind the fact that, that's who his dad is who his dad is. Okay, your dad's a Hall of Famer. All right, now you create your own career. You try to have your own path that you want to go. If it's a Hall of Fame career, great. If it's not, then you're a very, very good quarterback and you got a Super Bowl under your ring, that's great too. So it's just a matter of him just blocking out all of that negative, not even negative, just blocking all of the noise, blocking all the noise and staying focused. I always equate it to, like, you see horses and they got those blinders on. You just have to have that blinder, that tunnel vision. And he should be fine in the NFL, man. I mean, protect yourself too, because we talked about some of the strengths, and I'll go right into one of the weaknesses. He holds on to the ball too long, guys. Like he has a tendency to do that. And I understand in college you're still processing things. He's still a young man. That's not going to translate to the NFL very well. I mean, last 2 years, he took over 94 right at 94 sacks. You will get mollywopped if you do that in the NFL. Like that's going to have to be something that they're going to have to teach him. Whomever team he goes to, they're going to have to teach him to get the ball out of his hands quickly. If he doesn't see something transpire, then get the ball out of your hand. We do not need you getting hit, and we do not need you taking unnecessary shots and holding on to the ball too long, because when you hold on to the ball too long, typically bad things happen.
He gives me Baker Mayfield vibes. I don't know if that's kind of like a terrible comparison either, but I feel like Baker doesn't take shit from nobody. He's not, he sets his way. He knows what his like when people know their abilities and they're they could shut out all the negatives and just kind of play their game. Eventually, the cream's going to rise to the top, and I feel like that's going to happen for Shedeur too. I feel like that's a pretty Baker Mayfield's a pretty good. Even the way he moves in the pocket gives me a lot of Baker vibes too. So.
I like that. I like that comparison, because Baker Mayfield is a tough son of a what. Like the dude is absolutely nails when he's in that pocket, and when he runs like with like fierceness. I think he was even nominated for the angriest runs. That thing that they do on the NFL Network with Kyle Brandt. I think he was nominated one. I mean, come on, dude, that's a quarterback, and he's over there truck sticking dudes like that's pretty awesome. I like that comparison, because I think Shedeur Sanders and the thing about Baker Mayfield, I'm pretty sure he's a nice guy. I don't know him, but he carries himself when he gets on that field, when he gets in between those white lines, he carries himself like he's the best player on the field. Like nobody's going to stop him. And I think Shedeur Sanders, if he does have that type of mentality, if he maintains that or gets that type of because I think it even took time for Baker Mayfield too. He was humbled pretty quickly in the NFL.
Absolutely.
And I think that is something that you would have to look into for Shedeur as well. But I like that comparison.
And when you go to a team, when you're drafted 101, 102, 103, you're not going to the Patriots. You're not a Patriot. I shouldn't even say that. You can't use the Patriots as an example anymore. You're not going to the Chiefs. You're not going to the good teams in the NFL. You're going somewhere that's in rebuild, like the Giants or the Raiders are in play right now. Things like that. So
hey, calm down on the Raiders. We're gonna be just fine. Yes. We're gonna be just fine.
Just like my Dolphins. Yeah.
No. We could spend another hour talking about the Dolphins.
We're talking about Josh Allen now. That's all we're talking about. But yeah. So now here's one thing that we're gonna jump now to the weaknesses. Okay, all the things that we see. We're gonna say we use a good word for it yesterday instead of like weaknesses or that kind of thing. But with all the quarterbacks with over 200 attempts, 8-yard ADOT is what he had. So that's in the like bottom 11% of quarterbacks in college last year. They had over 200 attempts, 8 yards average depth of target. The long pass is concerning to me. The long passes. So when I see him throwing downfield, there's a couple. Some of his receivers make some pretty good plays, but what hurts me the most as a guy who grew up watching Dan Marino and pure pocket quarterbacks, guys who put lasers right on dudes in stride. A lot of guys had to come back for a lot of Shedeur's passes. That's one thing that concerned me. Tip, we'll start with you because what are some of the big concerns you have about Shedeur that you're like, man, this guy really has to clean this up? Or
it's the holding on to the ball situation. We just talked about that is the one thing. I kind of see where you're talking about, because I think in that same Baylor game there was a pass that he made to Travis Hunter. Travis Hunter is just a different beast. So like he's a man amongst boys out there, literally. And when it comes to playing football, he did kind of have it was in stride, but a little bit behind him. Travis Hunter had to adjust, and then he ran off and ran. I think got 30 yards out of it, 30, 40 yards. But anyway, but I do see where you're coming from a little bit. I still think the deep ball. I think the deep ball has gotten better over time. I think that it's gotten a little bit more accurate at times too. And I mean, the deep ball is what the deep ball is. And you did make a good point about having those receivers. He has some good receivers there. So again, if he goes to a team, I hate to say it, like the Giants, they got one hell of a receiver over there, and Malik Neighbors. I mean, look at what he did just this past season. That could be somewhere.
It's like he won't lose. It's like he won't lose a beat from Travis Hunter.
It won't lose a beat, dude. It would be. I don't see how the Giant, and we'll talk a little bit about it right now. I don't see how they pass on him at this point. I really don't. And for me being a Raiders fan, it hurts, because unless we somehow get up to top 2 or 3, but I just don't see the Giants, after all the turmoil they've had with all these quarterbacks since Eli's been gone, or not really all of them, but really Daniel Jones and the other people too who filled in for him. I think they just can't miss on a quarterback. I think they gotta get a quarterback. So I'm a little nervous right now being a Raiders fan. But yeah,
John, I was gonna say, I had predicted before the season started that Shedeur would go to the Raiders. That was my pick. I thought they would be all over him. I also thought they'd be picking top 3. They won a couple games down the stretch there, and they got him to that 6th spot. So I want to see him do really well. I want to see him get drafted high, but I really like to see him on the Raiders. I think having Tom Brady there, kind of helping him with Pete Carroll's going to get the running game going.
Brock Bowers? Oh my God.
I love Bowers. I would love to see him with Bowers. I think he would be great with that. Man. I really want to see him on the Raiders, so I hope he falls just a hair to the Raiders. But I think you're right. I think it's going to be very tough unless the Browns and the Titans do something crazy and they both skip on QB, which I would be surprised about, and somehow Cam goes to the Giants instead. I just don't see how Shedeur doesn't go to the Giants. So I agree with you on that one. I think there. So John, for strengths and weaknesses, I'm right with Tip. He's got to get rid of the ball sooner. I think part of that was he was trying to make so many plays. He was trying to make every play because they had no running game. No running game. And so I think that was part. I think that can get cleaned up in the NFL. Them like, hey guys, you don't have to make every play for us. And I think a lot of those times it was him scrambling around, holding, waiting for something to come open. And I think some of those deep balls you saw, John, where guys had to come back, were some of that, where he was scrambling around, chucking it up way down the field, and guys are having to come back for the ball. I actually think he throws a phenomenal deep ball on time when he throws it on time. This year especially, if you go back and watch some of the film from him, he puts some of these balls perfect right over the outside shoulder, right on the sideline, perfect spot where only the offensive guy can get it. The defensive guy can't do anything about it. I actually think that is one of his best qualities, is his precision on the deep ball. I think he puts it right where it needs to be. That's one of my favorite traits for him. And I think getting more timing where he can show that he throws that on a timing route, I think is going to be better. I think, like I said, when he scrambles is where you saw guys having to come back to the ball a lot and do those types of things. So that's my favorite thing about him. That, and I just think he's extremely, extremely accurate and throws a very catchable ball. He usually puts the ball right where guys can go get it. Like Tip said, across the middle. He throws a great ball across the middle, right where guys can catch it and keep running. As you saw, a lot of his players, wideouts, made big plays, especially Travis Hunter, where he hit them on crossing routes right in stride, and he was able to take, a 7-8 yard crossing route for 30-40 yards because he hit him right where he needed to. So I love his accuracy. That the accuracy and the deep ball accuracy are my favorite. Another strength of his is he can move in the pocket and make off-platform throws. Does a really good job of that. And like we talked about, taking the hits, the sacks is obviously one of his biggest flaws. But the one positive I think out of that flaw is he's shown great toughness and is cool under pressure. He showed this last year that he can step into throws and take the hit, that he's not going to shy away and completely dive away from taking shots. He stepped into throws when he needed to and made the hit. To me, that's important. Obviously, you don't want to get your quarterback taking that many hits and get killed, but the fact that he's willing to stick in the pocket and make those throws, I think, is important. Now, to jump into the weaknesses, outside of holding the ball too long, that's obviously a huge one. He needs to work on his footwork just a little bit, needs improvement. He tends to float, like when he drops back on that third or fourth step, sometimes he floats to the side when he goes to make that throw, as opposed to dropping straight back and then adjusting depending on where the pressure comes. Sometimes instead of going straight back, he floats on the drop back. So that sometimes he doesn't have his body in the right position to make that throw because he's already got his feet off because he's floating. So that's something but I think good quarterback coach can clean that up pretty quickly. He's got good anticipation, but he's slightly inconsistent on the quick routes, on anticipating how quickly to get rid of them. I think so. That's something he's got to improve. Sometimes he just holds it slightly too long, or he throws it slightly too early, and he just doesn't time it up right on those short routes. So that's something I think the ADOT was part of the problem. Was that they also ran a ton of screens to players to try to get certain guys on their team just get the ball in their hands to see. And a lot of that was because they had no running game. So they used their screen game as like a glorified run game because they could not run the football at all. So I think that was part of the ADOT's bad. And really, like I said, most of the time he steps into throws, makes good throws. He does have a tendency, though, to fade sometimes when he's going to make that throw. He gets off, he throws it, and that's where you see, John, those deep balls that float a little bit is because he's not stepping into it. When he steps into it, he's super accurate. When he fades a little bit is when you see that float a little over the top. To me, I just don't think he's hit his max. Some guys are like, oh, you see him come in, you're like, hey, how much better can this guy get than he was in college? I still think he can improve. And the reason I think he can improve is he is not one of those guys that's completely reliant on his athletic ability to make plays in college. He is using his mind. He's using his accuracy. And that's where I think, if he can end up on it somewhere with like Tom Brady, where Brady can talk him through some of these timing things. We all remember Brady. I mean, one of the greatest of all time. Dude, Brady wouldn't have won any award for any athletic competition whatsoever, ever. No arm strength, no run. But the problem, he figured out timing, where to do, how to read. That's where I think Sanders is going to be successful at the next level. I think he's going to figure that out, where some of these other quarterbacks, I don't know if they're ever going to get there. I think Sanders has the ability to really process quickly and make the plays and make the accurate throws. So I think as he improves, especially if he gets a good offensive coordinator and a quarterback coach, I think those are things that he can just get better at. And then that already has that accuracy. You're not trying to make him accurate. He's already accurate. Now you're going, okay, you're accurate. Now pick and choose the right times to throw where, and where to level the ball and throw in those layers. So that's why I'm high on him. I just think he has room to grow. And he isn't going to be one of those guys that like, oh, if he can't force it in there with his arm, he's just screwed because he's got to beat everybody with his arm strength. And again, not the strongest arm in the world, but I think he's got plenty of arm strength to get it done in the NFL. I think he's very over-exaggerated how people are like, oh, he just doesn't have a very strong arm. His arm, I think, is plenty of strong. He's no Josh Allen. He isn't going to just chuck the ball in the tightest window ever, but I think he's accurate. And so he doesn't have to, force a ball in somewhere because he can throw with accuracy. So those are part of the things, for me, strengths and weaknesses. But yeah, John, now we can get into where we like him, where we don't like him, all that good NFL talk about where we think we can go in the draft.
Hold on. Just to follow up on what you said here, he's really good at like the 25 to like 35 yard, like kind of like, okay, get the ball in the end zone, timing pattern, drop a dime right in somebody's hands, that kind of stuff when he's sitting in the pocket and his feet are set. The problem is not that he gets happy feet, but when he does like wait for the secondary or the third route, the third break off of a route, when he's got an ad lib like the third section of a route because he took too long to hold on to the ball or scrambled, or the offensive line didn't protect him well enough and he's on the move, that he likes to run and like he almost, not that he jumps all the time, but he likes to throw like with his feet not even close to being set when he tries to throw the ball, and he's depending on his arm, and it's like you got to trust yourself to stop for a second, get open, and either not make that throw, because a lot of those things are going to get picked off in the NFL. The ones the stuff he did throw from the run or from like not being set, not even close to being set. He's got to like figure out like, hey, I can't wait this long, or get rid of the ball faster, or just tuck it and run, and that kind of deal. And instead of just trying to make something happen, I love guys who trust the receivers. I think that's Trevor Lawrence's biggest problem, is him not trusting receivers, him trying to do too much. But at the same time, like I think he trusts his receivers a little bit too much sometimes for his inaccuracies, and that's concerning also. But that's the only thing I got to say about that. But
yeah, I think of the right coaching, they can clean that up. Again, I think he has good timing and anticipation. He just needs to have coaches that drill into him, trust your timing, trust your anticipation, make the throw. Because again, I think sometimes he broke down and just said, I'm going to run around and make a play. I'll get somebody open. And while we all love when Patrick Mahomes does that, you can't do that every play. You got to know when you can do that and when you can't do that. And I think that's something that, with the right coaching, I think is hopefully something he cleans up, because I think he does think he can make something happen on every play. And that's where they're going to have to teach into him. Like, sometimes it's better to eat it. And sometimes it's better just to throw it away, which I know was a big knock. He had a great percentage, but a lot of the knock on his percentage was he doesn't throw the ball away. So that's why his percentage is so great, because he never throws it away. He takes the sack. So they're going to have to instill that a little bit into him. Like, hey, sometimes you got to learn to just chuck the ball out of bounds and live for the next play. You can't make every play a huge game breaking play. And I think that comes with coaching. It comes with experience. It really does.
The next section we have here is like the intangibles. And like you guys had said before, I don't want to re-echo the situation, but we'll talk about some more. I mean, when you grew up with a Hall of Fame dad who's very vocal in the spotlight, who's been on every TV show known to man, everybody knows his face, everybody loved the guy. I mean, even if you weren't a Deion Sanders fan, you love Deion Sanders. It's like it's not like a Michael Jordan, or not like in a Kobe Bryant or something. It's that you can't not like a guy who's that talented. And to see now his kid coming up in the ranks, of course, you're like, oh, it's daddy ball or blah, blah, that kind of stuff. He had to overcome so much to be put on top of that. Think of the coaching this kid's got from day one. Like, hey, where to throw the ball. Let's watch this film. Let's watch this. Let's watch that. Off the field, he's had to listen to this chirping in his ear his entire life about, oh, it's because your dad, or, all the stupid questions. Like, you saw these reporters asking these stupid questions at the NFL stuff the other day. He's had to deal with those questions his entire life, like about, in your high school and college, now, probably even in grammar school. The kid's been answering him. He's ready for the NFL for that kind of stuff, for sure. Any other thing, Tip, off the field, as far as good, bad, ugly, it doesn't matter?
Yeah, definitely. I like how you talked about how his dad has been like breeding him to be a leader, from when he was able to, at least talk. So, and the school that he attended, his high school, Trinity Leadership School. It's like he has been bred to be a leader, and I think it's going to transition very nicely to the NFL. I think that he's gonna know what to say when he gets it going, gets understanding, of what needs to be done. I think he's going to know how to lead other teammates, as the time goes. And another thing too, another leading order situation that he's done is back in 2023, he gave $45,000 to the NED Falcons youth organization, where he donated football equipment and donated jerseys and clothes to the football team and the cheerleading team. I mean, he's doing stuff like that out in the community, getting himself prepared for, the NFL has a bunch of organizations that they want their players to, associate with and give back to and things like that. So he's getting ready to not only lead in the locker room, but also possibly maybe lead in his community too, and be a leader, to the community, for whichever team. Again, I hope and pray that it's the Raiders, man, because I really would like to see him there. But again, we've got other teams in front of us right now. So again, it's going to be a situation where I think that he's going to be an all-around leader in the NFL.
JT?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I just think he's a guy that's prepared for this. I think he's ready no matter where he goes, if it's Chicago or Vegas or New York or whatever. I just think he's a guy, I know he got ripped on like, oh, he's ripping in his line. He's tearing down his team. I don't think any of his teammates ever thought that he was really doing that. I think he, was standing up being a leader. Like, we got to be better. We got to play better. My O-line's got to play better. If I'm going to play better, I just think there's a difference between, trashing your own teammates and holding accountable. And I think he's that type of guy that holds his teammates accountable. That's what you need in the NFL. You got to have a quarterback that's holding the other teammates accountable, and then going, hey, when I mess that up and I didn't play well and I got to do better for my teammates. I think he's that type of teammate. Just everything I've seen out of him. I just think, is he going to be a superstar immediately in the league? It depends on what team and the coach he gets. I don't know about that, but to me, he's a guy that I think we could see having a pretty decent start to his career, and then middle to his career going, man, this guy he's just a winner. He just keeps his team in games. He keeps doing well. Is he going to be a superstar fantasy wise? That depends on the offense and who they put around him. You know what I mean? As a quarterback, you could be a great quarterback and you could have nobody around you, and you could be a solid quarterback without putting up great fantasy numbers, as we are a fantasy show. So we just got to talk about that. But I think he has that ability. I think he has the ability to be a strong fantasy asset. So I think where he goes is going to be a big one. But he's one of those guys, I'm not as worried about where he goes as some other guys. Some other guys, I'm like, if they end up in the wrong spot, I'm like, that guy could just be done right from the beginning. Where I don't think that's Sanders. I think Sanders is a guy that will be able to adjust wherever he's at. You taking a guy who grew up outside of Dallas, then lived in Mississippi, then Colorado. And I just think he's a guy that can adjust to wherever he's at. And I just think he seems like a guy, as far as talking with his teammates, seeing a lot of people. Of course, he didn't get along with everyone. If you're a leader, you're not going to get along with everyone, because some people just don't want to listen to any kind of criticism. It's just the way it happens. But I don't think he ever was giving criticism necessarily to just be a jerk off. You know what I mean? I think he was doing it in a team concept, and sometimes people took that wrong way. And maybe he didn't say it the nicest way, but we also have to remember these guys are 20, 21, 22 years old. I'm in my 40s. I say stuff wrong. Sometimes I'm like, oh, I did not say that the way I probably should have said that or phrased that. It happens, man. But we just want to nitpick at every little thing these guys do. So I think for me, he has those intangibles that not everybody has.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to know, how do you guys think he look like in powder blue and purple in a Tennessee Titans uniform? That's what I'm kind of wondering about.
The only good thing about him going to the Titans is I get to see him every year at the Colts games. That'd be the only good part about that. But I don't really want to see him on that time. I would honestly, if we want to jump into the NFL talk, Raiders are my number one destination. I would love to see him on the Raiders. I'd love to see him with Brock Bowers. I think they're going to add some more weapons to that team. I think they're going to add some running backs in the second or third round. I'd love to see him on the Raiders. I just think that would be ideal spot for him. The Giants with Neighbors, though, and Wan'Dale Robinson, I think that's another good spot. I really think that he's one of the guys that could thrive in New York. I like both those spots. I would hate to see him in Cleveland, not just because of the Steelers, but I just don't want to see the death nail of him going to Cleveland and them ruining his career, because that's what Cleveland does to quarterbacks. So I'd much rather see him on the Giants or the Raiders. If he makes it past the Raiders,
Go ahead.
I have to be honest, I'm going to be shocked.
Right.
I'm really going to be shocked if he gets out of the top 10, and really if he gets past the Raiders at 6. I'm absolutely going to be beside myself if he gets to the Raiders at 6 and they pass it on him. I really will be like, what is going on here?
Yeah, and you keep hearing a lot of people saying, oh, this isn't a good quarterback draft, or not a deep quarterback draft. But that doesn't mean that there's not a good quarterback in this draft. And I think that you got a couple of them, maybe even more, that are can actually be good fits on these teams. And I think you're right, man. The Raiders, and I'm not just saying this just because I'm a Raiders fan. I will say I would like to see that happen. But I'm also going to understand the fact that the Giants need a quarterback just like we need a quarterback, and they've got a few picks ahead of us. Then, so that's something that we do need to see that happens. But I think he's a perfect fit for either one of those teams. I would love to see him more with us, the Raiders. But I look, top 7 is easy. He will be picked within the top 7 because I guarantee you, if the Raiders see him right there, I would be shocked. I would be totally shocked if they do it, unless maybe Abdul Carter slipped. I don't see that happening either. But unless something like that happens, and you want to really beef up this defense, and then worry about the quarterbacks and more deeper drafts, that's fine too. Because this year for the Raiders, I'm looking for anywhere from 6 to 8 wins. I'm not looking for double-digit wins. I'm not looking for you to turn around like the Commanders just did. It'll be great, but I'm not gonna put my expectations on that. It can happen, yes, but I'm not going to. As a Raiders fan, I'm going to be steady Eddie, even though Pete Carroll doesn't have a lot of time, and he's preached time is of the essence right now. So I still think that it's going to be a situation. If we get Shedeur Sanders, man, that time piece is going to be shortened just a little bit, and I think that it just rejuvenates this team and this organization.
So in the show, you guys already answered the last 3 questions, kind of thing. So I'm gonna.
Well, no, we can talk fantasy because I do have.
That's my next. That's what I was gonna say.
Okay.
If Shedeur does go, I'm gonna name some teams now. Okay, just tell me where's it gonna go in fantasy, because I don't think, even if you went to Tennessee, if you went anywhere, I don't see him. I think most people are going to the default format for me nowadays is super flex. I don't think there's many people that play one quarterback anymore, besides a lot of redraft leagues, things like that. So the default draft now would be super flex. Okay. So let's just say he goes to Tennessee. What happens there? Where is in fantasy? Where are you drafting him at? Still the top 103?
So I looked at it from 2 ways. I looked at it from the 2 quarterback system, like you're talking about, that's become more popular and more well known and used now. I still think that he is a borderline 2-3. You got to be crazy out of your mind to have him as your number 1 in a redraft. I think that he's like a 2-3, a borderline 2. Like I would be more comfortable if he's my 3, because if he starts to flash, then and my number 2 is maybe a little not as good, because I went for a number 1 quarterback in the first round. I went and got some positional players, and then I went and got my second quarterback in the 4th, and then maybe waited a few rounds, maybe teams to get Shedeur Sanders. I wouldn't mind that scenario, because you have Shedeur Sanders there as a piece if he does start to show. But it's critical, what team will he be playing on? If he plays on the Giants, yes, I can still see it, because you have an offensive-minded head coach in Brian Daboll. You have a stud in Malik Neighbors. And then you have another decent wide receiver. As far as catching the ball, his yardage is a little questionable. But in Wan'Dale Robinson, and you got Tyrone Tracy, who comes off the backfield. The Giants their offensive line was better than the year previous. So they are making some strides. And they still got my guy Luminor over there, man, and that kind of hurt. But yes, yeah. So, but the thing is, though, is like, for me, I think that if you can get Shedeur Sanders as your 3rd quarterback, you should be golden, happy, ready to go. If it's a 1 QB league, I've got 19 other quarterbacks I would rather have than Shedeur Sanders.
Right. So team. I guess what I was looking through a dynasty lens, I should kind of.
John, I was going to jump in there because I played in a couple 2 QB and some bigger IDP 1 QB dynasty leagues. So I think, just to kind of give you context where some of these quarterbacks have gone the last couple years, AR went as our 1-2 in a 1 QB league to a guy that was just looking for him. He only had one really kind of stud quarterback, went early. But most of those guys, like Caleb Williams, went 1-8 in our 1 QB league. But a lot of those other guys went like mid-second round in a dynasty on those. And this league particular, it's a 12-team league, but guys do kind of hoard quarterbacks. So there isn't a lot of guys on the waiver wire because it is dynasty from year to year. So to me, in a 1 QB league like that, if you're playing in an IDP, pretty big league where you're starting 18, 20 guys, offense and defense combined, I think you're going to see Sanders go like mid-second round to early third round. I just think unless you have somebody that absolutely loves him, I think he's going to drop a little bit in a 1 QB because you're probably not going to have to play him. And you're either going to have to be like me, someone who really likes Shedeur, or you're going to have to love the landing spot, I think, to go get him earlier than that. So I think he kind of falls in there. Now I'm in a couple 2 QB leagues where, QBs are gold, and if you got a chance to take a QB at the top of the draft, you almost always have to, because you don't know if you're going to be back there the next year. So I have a couple 2 QB leagues where I've already had some discussions among the league. Pretty sure Sanders is going to go 1-1 in our league because if you don't have quarterbacks, if you don't have 3 like legit starters because of injuries and bye weeks from year to year, if you don't have 3 legit starters, you can get in trouble real fast. And I know a couple guys that have, I know a guy that has Patrick Mahomes, and I'm blanking on who his second quarterback is, but he's got the number 1 pick. He's saying I'm probably taking Shedeur Sanders unless I love Cam Ward's landing spot instead first. And again, that's because I think both Cam Ward and Shedeur will go top 4 in that league because it is 2 QB league. But Superflex, I think it's going to come down to team build. If you've already got a couple QBs, I think I could easily see people going running back early. I've got a couple different teams where I'm in that like 1-4 to 1-7 range. If Shedeur gets to me, I'm probably taking him because I only have like legit 2 stars and he'd be my third. So I would probably take him. But if I'm in a league where I already got 3 starters, I'm probably passing on him unless I think I can trade one of the other guys. I'm probably passing and going wide out or running back if one of those other guys is there that I really like. Because I do like a lot of guys in this draft in that 1-4 to mid-second round range. So I really think it is going to come down to what draft you're in, what your team build is. But I think he's in that range. I think he can go 1-1, especially in a 2 QB league. I'm also thinking Superflex, he can go in that top 3, depending on your team build. If you're desperate for a QB, I've got a team where I've got Jalen Hurts and only Geno Smith. Like, that's it. I got no other quarterback, and Geno
that would be a team.
Age.
Yeah,
so
yeah,
that's
that would be a team
where I'm picking in the top 3 in that league, and so I'm like, I'm probably taking Shedeur in that situation because I'm like, I don't want to get stuck with Geno in a year or 2 gone, and now I don't have a second starting quarterback. So that type of situation, I'm probably passing. But if I've got, if Darnold signs somewhere and I've got Darnold, Baker Mayfield, and Mahomes, I could probably see myself going running back or wide receiver, depending on what position I need more.
You guys are going to hate this. We did one of my leagues last night. Now it's team dependent, all that kind of stuff like that, but it's super flex, PPR, tight end premium draft, okay? It went like this. You tell me where would you take Sanders, okay? Because 101, they went Genty. Would you take Genty or Sanders? This is a rookie, 5-round rookie mock draft for a Dynasty league.
Okay, rookie. Okay.
I would probably go Genty if I wasn't desperate for a QB, I would probably go Genty at 1-1.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's the right call. But it's also, no in the scoring system too. But I mean, yeah, I would definitely go Genty first.
All right, next one was Tedero McMillan.
Yeah, I like that guy a lot.
I like
the Arizona kid.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep. And then Cam Ward went 103. Would you take Cam Ward or Sanders?
I'm more the Sanders guy.
I'm a Sanders guy too, so I'm taking Sanders over Ward.
Guy.
Then Omarion Hampton went, then Luther Burden, then Travion Henderson, then Emeka Obuka, then Tyler Warren, then Caleb Johnson, then Sanders at 110.
Wow.
You guys are.
If I'm at 110, I am ecstatic that I got Shedeur Sanders at 110. I'd be fist bumping. I'd be loving that. That'd be great. But again, I think he's going to go all over because I think you're going to get people like me and Tipp who like Sanders and like his potential, his ability. I think you're going to see people who all they've done is read Twitter all year and they're like, I heard he's terrible. He sucks. He can't throw the ball deep. It's only because his dad. Those people aren't going to take him. He's going to fall in those drafts because people don't like him. Here's the question for me, John, and I think I'm probably taking 9 out of 10 times I'm taking Sanders over Cam Ward. The question for me is, if Sanders goes to Tennessee, I just don't like the Titans. If he goes to Tennessee and Cam goes to the Giants with neighbors or to the Raiders, I would pause and think about taking Cam Ward over Sanders, even though I think Sanders is a better quarterback. I would pause because of the situation. I really would. That one would give me, I'd have to think hard about whether I wanted to go Ward or Sanders in that
landing
situation.
spot
But
dependent,
for me, it's pretty much Sanders unless we get something crazy like that where I just hate the landing spot.
Yes. All right, Tip. Thank you very much for your time with us here today. I appreciate all your questions being answered. I appreciate that I got to share your guys' love for Shedeur Sanders on this show today. It made me feel good. They got the warm and fuzzies for it. So, I love your spaces. I love seeing when it pops up. If I got time when I'm at work, I listen to them all the time. Sometimes I can't chime in, but I do when I can. But once again, Tip, tell everybody where they can find you at all that kind of stuff again, because you're a really great guest today. Thank you very much.
No, appreciate you guys having me on, man. This was awesome. So football guys, you can just go to Google, Tipp Major Football Guys. You'll find my work there. And check out all the great content at Football Guys, man. They're the leaders for a reason, man. And they really do a hell of a job. And we had a retreat not too long ago. And if I can brag on our fearless guide, Joe Bryant, because he is not a leader or a boss or anything like that. He preaches being a guide to all of us, and we being the guide to all of you and everybody out there who subscribes, doesn't subscribe, has questions. We want to be the guide for you. And he, I guess Joe Bryant's a big Star Wars fan because he's like, we want to be like Yoda. And so I was like, okay, I know who that is, the little green monster thing. All right, yeah, cool. So it's one of those things that I'm happy to be a part of it. I also work with the sports affiliation. Happy to be a part of it with those guys. I write content for them. I did do a show with Greg Kellogg. We're taking some time off. We passed it over to two other guys. They're great guys, Rick Busuelis and also Joe Carlton. Please check out the sports affiliation. They always have great content, great videos. JC Iggy are awesome people. Spaces. I'm always on Spaces. I'm always, dipping and dodging through them. I haven't ran one in a while because I'm always on speaking for somebody, and it's probably not going to change because my schedule is about to get even crazier. But yeah, it's been a blast, man. It's been a fun time getting to meet a lot of new people, talk to a lot of new people. You can follow me at Tipp Major. It's right there on the screen somewhere. So yeah, that's where you can follow me at Tipp Major on X, Blue Sky, Instagram. We're playing around with Instagram, and then Facebook, of course. All right, guys.
Thank you very much, JT. We got a draft coming up tonight. After we got Peter Nova knocking on the door right now, saying, "Hey, where are you guys at?" So
yeah, we got a couple more of these, Johnny. We got two more of these, and then stick around late for the Stew with JT Brew. We're going to do a 2-round rookie mock draft, Superflex 1.5.
Oh, you guys are all nighting it. Then
we're going all day, baby, all day.
Elijah Arroyo after this, right next door with Peter, and then after that we got
Trey Harris
with wow, okay,
yeah, with our guy
heavy hitters.
Oh, jeez. Oh, Shane says. Was Shane?
No, Shane. Yeah, we're Shane. Sorry, yeah, we're going with Shane.
I don't know why.
Shane's the worst.
That, Shane's the worst. But all right, guys, thank you very much, Tip.
Peace.
Have a good one, brother. John McGlynn,
right,
John McGlynn 75 on X.